Let's just jump right in with a really powerful thought, shall we? I mean, no matter how much time we spend at the gym or how much we think about our appearance, the source material reminds us where it's all headed. It's a pretty blunt way to start, I know, but it really sets the stage perfectly for what we're about to explore. A way of looking past all the temporary stuff to find something that actually lasts. So that brings us to our first huge concept, this idea of the world as a dream. We're going to really unpack what it means to start seeing our reality, everything around us, as something temporary and, well, maybe not as solid as we think it is. And here's the real kicker. It says everything we hold dear, our family, our stuff, even our own bodies, the things we think define us, they aren't anchors. They're described as shackles of illusion. The idea is that these are the very attachments that keep us tied down inside this dream.
Now, this whole concept actually has a name, Maya. The easiest way to think of it is like a giant veil that covers everything, clouding our vision. It's the force that makes this dream feel so incredibly real that we forget we're even dreaming. It keeps us from seeing what's truly behind it all.
This really draws a sharp line in the sand. On one side, you have our everyday relationships. The text is pretty clear. They're temporary, part of the illusion, and they often end up causing us pain. But then you look at the other side. The bond with God or the divine is shown as the complete opposite. It's eternal, it's real, and it's the source of true bliss.
So that leads to a pretty big question, right? If this world is an illusion that causes so much pain, then why are we stuck in it? This next part gets right to the heart of the problem. We're going to look for the root cause of all our suffering. The source material just puts the question out there plain and simple. I mean, think about it. If life is this temporary dream full of challenges, what is it that keeps pulling us back into it over and over again? It's one of those questions that really makes you stop and think, for sure.
And here's the answer. It's surprisingly simple. It's not some grand cosmic destiny or bad luck. It's desire, plain and simple. All of our wants, from the biggest to the smallest, are the fuel that keeps this engine of rebirth running. And this quote just nails the point so perfectly. It's not about wanting a mansion or a sports car. Nope. It says as long as you have a craving for even one tiny piece of candy, you're coming back. That just shows you how deep this goes. Even the most insignificant little want is enough to keep you on the wheel. So to wrap up this part, the diagnosis is crystal clear. Desire is the problem. It's the source of our pain, and it's the main roadblock standing between us and true spiritual freedom, or what the text calls liberation. But hey, it's not all doom and gloom. I mean, what good is knowing the problem if there's no solution? And luckily, there is one. We're about to explore the path to freedom. And what's fascinating is, it isn't about fighting harder. It's about letting go. It's about surrender. So this is basically a practical step-by-step guide. And you'll notice, it's not about complicated rituals or anything like that. It's all about being sincere, about heartfelt communication. The key is to be vulnerable, Open your heart, pray with real emotion, and just keep asking for that inner peace. And you have to do it constantly. That's the secret. Now, this next point is a little bit of a paradox, but it's so important. The path isn't about using your willpower to just crush every desire you have. Instead, it's about redirecting all of that energy. The only desire you should have is the desire to have no desires. You're basically asking the divine to free you from wanting anything at all. And at the end of the day, our own effort can only get us so far. The source is very clear on this. The final, most essential ingredient is divine grace. Our job is simply to ask for it, to make ourselves open to receiving it through sincere prayer. Okay, so we've talked a lot about the inner journey, but what does all of this look like in the real world? How does this spiritual understanding actually change the way we interact with people every day? Well, this next section is all about putting that wisdom into practice. This is such a great, actionable list. It's so clear, and there's a definite theme here, isn't there? The focus shifts inward, towards seeing our own faults instead of criticizing others. And then it shifts outward with pure kindness, looking for the good in people, serving them, and not demanding anything in return. Wow, what a beautiful way to think about patience. The earth puts up with so much, right? And yet it just endures it all in silence. This quote is telling us to cultivate that same kind of deep, quiet strength and resilience when we're facing our own struggles. Now, this one can be a tough pill to swallow, but it's a huge point. It says that we suffer because of our own actions, our own karma. And because of that, blaming other people for our problems isn't just unfair, it totally misses the point. Real growth comes from taking that responsibility. This idea just completely changes the game. It's about dissolving that boundary between me and them. When you start to see everyone as part of your own world, when you realize no one is truly a stranger, empathy and compassion just happen naturally. Hurting someone else starts to feel like hurting yourself. So, after all this work, the surrender, the wisdom, the patience, what's the ultimate payoff? What do we get at the end of this whole spiritual journey? Let's talk about the final reward, the treasure of peace. Now, this isn't a promise that your life will suddenly be perfect. Not at all. What it's offering is a change in perspective. Hardships are going to happen. That's life. But they're also temporary. They're just passing through, like water under a bridge. They come and then they go. They don't have to define you. Here's another one of those profound questions that just reframes everything. It suggests that maybe sorrow isn't a mistake in the system. Maybe it's a necessary teacher. After all, how could we truly recognize and appreciate joy if we never had anything to compare it to? This really gets at a deep sense of acceptance and trust in a bigger plan. The goal isn't to fight against our circumstances. It's about finding contentment right where we are, playing whatever part we've been given with grace instead of constantly struggling against the current. And this is it. This is the core teaching, the ultimate prize. Not wealth, not fame, not even what we think of as happiness, but contentment. That deep, unshakable peace that comes from being okay with what is. That is the greatest treasure you can ever find. So as we wrap this up, we'll leave you with that question. After exploring all these ideas about illusion and desire and surrender, the last step is to turn it all inward. So what about you? How do you find peace in your own life? It's definitely something to think about.